Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Grand Tactician: The Civil War, episode number 21 of our Let's Play series, playing the Whiskey and Lemons DLC for this game, the Eastern Theater Regimental Scale campaign. We are currently commanding, this is kind of a role-playing version of this game, and we're currently the commander of the Butcher Division, is what I call it. We lost 30% of our division in a battle in the last episode in casualties, and so we're suffering attrition, where our troops are unhappy, and we're low on food. That being said, we are a veteran. We're an old hand. We've got 5 stars of experience. That's the max. Our fame is maxed out, so apparently losing that battle did not cause anyone to lose their faith in us. Our administration is very good. But our leadership, initiative, and cunning are all kind of weak. That being said, this is a war that seems like it should be over by now. The Federals have considerably more resources, 255,000 men against 133,000 or 134,000 Confederates. The Federals have lost 94,000 casualties against 123,000 Confederate. This should be a war that we are winning. And Winfield Scott, as the lieutenant general and commander of our armies, is just not cutting it. I, as a major general but only commanding of a division, feel I could be doing more. We have 8,700 prestige in the bank, and we can get ourselves promoted to lieutenant general by spending just 2.4 thousand of that prestige. I don't know what will happen. I don't think I can command a division as a lieutenant general. I don't know if I will be given command of anything as a lieutenant general. I don't think I have enough prestige to take over a huge army, but perhaps a corps with that rank. So we're going to promote ourselves, folks. We're going to spend 2.4 thousand prestige to promote ourselves to lieutenant general. So we'll do that. The division is still retreating, so we'll have to wait for the promotion to go through. Which I think is funny that DC would be like, hey, you're our lieutenant general now after just losing a battle pretty badly. But let's see. Still a major general waiting for that promotion to come through. I don't know how long it's going to take. Just waiting. Is this going to go through eventually? Or maybe it did go through. Still has me as a major general. Okay. I'm the legendary and mischievous commander of the Butcher Division. Sounds about right. Oh, it's already been put forward, so I guess we just gotta wait. Guess we gotta wait a little while. We're back here with our division recovering with a large federal force. I guess a little bit southwest of Manassas? Or mostly just west. Union Army wins a battle at Winchester. Up here, I think. Battle of Staunton down here. There's a siege going on. How long does it take for my promotion to go through? This one should be a victory for the Federals. So a nice little victory here in the valley clears it out again of Confederate forces. So 2 more victories since our promotion request. Just waiting for it to go through. I don't know how long it usually takes. I don't recall it quite taking this long in the past, but I also don't know entirely if it's a sure thing. But we're working on getting our readiness back up so our troops can get marching again. Our walking wounded are decreasing. We're up about 800 effectives from where we were before. Okay. Riots in major cities. That's the post Gettysburg riots, the famous New York riots. Do I have to do anything to get promoted? Like, what do I chose to spend the prestige. Our effectives are up to about 8,000 now. I'm getting chubby. All right, let's, while we're waiting. I don't know how long this takes. Let's see, I'm 161 pounds. That is hardly chubby. I guess it doesn't tell me how tall I am. So let's cut back on rations. Skeleton rations, our health is basically 100%, so we're not in the field either. What are our actions right now? Are we doing anything? We're working on study operations. We are 18 days away from completing that. Once my readiness is back in the green, I'm going to start moving again anyway. Even if I'm not promoted yet, we'll maneuver with our division. I don't want to spend more prestige, but I will take the time to earn prestige. Oh, 2 divisions are moving south. All right, so we still hold Staunton. Yeah, screw it. Let's get moving, boys. Readiness is good enough in the yellow. Let's clear the left flank of those 2 divisions advancing south. All right, the enemy withdrew in front of us, so we didn't really fight a battle. We just kind of pushed them back. And now we've got a battle to fight. About even odds. 7,800 federal rebels against 8,200 federals. So let's go ahead and fight this battle. Maybe we'll earn a little bit of prestige. Maybe it'll speed our promotion to lieutenant general. I'm not really sure. But either way, hopefully we've got a better result than our last fight. We're still 1,800 men shy of recovering fully from our losses, but we should win this battle. We've got a pretty well-equipped formation. We still have some troops with repeating weapons. Not as many, because one of the 3 regiments we had that had them was wiped out in the last battle, but either way, let's see what happens here. I think I'm down to 1 cavalry regiment. One of the other ones got destroyed. So Anderson's division is 8,000 men with 11 guns. They're veterans, so they're not crack like last time. Meanwhile, we've got good supply. We are on the offensive in this battle. Let's form up more in the open. I don't want to put my troops on the... Oh, I do have 2 cavalry regiments. I thought one of them got wiped out. Although they're down to 160 men, so maybe they reformed based on some of the men who escaped. So we basically have not even 500 troops with Spencers in the cavalry. 301 regiment, 160 in another. And then we've got a 500-man regiment with Henry repeaters. The rest have Lorenzas. The objective is down here in the south. So we're not going to use engineer points because we're on the offensive. Let's push south toward this ford here. Wait for the cavalry to start moving before I start moving the infantry. Because the cavalry is furthest from my commander, which means it'll have the longest delay in terms of orders. Not long, I mean they're close. 1st Brigade under Steinwehr with 2,600 is probably one of my best, so we'll move them first. 2,300 under Sweetie. And 2,700 under Kiefer. They could move along this railroad cut, I think. You can see these 2 units have their orders, so now we'll move the other ones. I'm trying to stagger my orders to move a little bit in the hope that it will allow me to move more quickly and have less congestion on the roads. You can see these boys are underway. cavalry is going to be well out ahead of everybody else. Hopefully there's no Rebs there and they're sitting back on Lawford Mill. And we can strike at them from there. But let's move things ahead at times 20 speed, at least until we spot any rebel troops. As we march south. It is about midday, so a fair amount of time to fight if the enemy is close to where we're deploying. Otherwise, we'll probably spend most of the time waiting for the troops to get into position. Division's moving reasonably spaced out, so it doesn't look like we'll have too much in the way of congestion on the roads, I think. Two regiments are on top of each other and a couple in the back, but better spacing than normal at least. All right, I'm not going to move the cavalry until at least 1400 hours when I think the infantry will be considerably closer. At least one of the brigades will be across the river by then. They got to cross the creek and then they got to cross it again here down by Davis. No sign of rebel troops yet. We'll wait till 1430 hours. Infantry is starting to bunch up a bit, so things are moving more slowly now. We're in the Sperryville, Virginia map. All right, so it's 1430. Let's get Riley's cavalry moving a bit. Scout the enemy out. We'll move out toward O'Connell's house. Move the lead brigade out toward Oler. Second brigade, Sweeney will move to O'Connell. And the other two will, or the third will wait for intelligence from the cavalry on where to move. Hopefully from O'Connell they can scout out the enemy position or at least see what the Rebs might have down there on the objective. Sometimes the enemy will form up elsewhere, so it's not a given that they'll be at Crawford's Mill, but it is typical, I would say. So the cavalry got there pretty quick. The commander was a little bit further behind, but we'll advance a little bit closer. Still no sight of the enemy troops. This is a nice open country. There is some high ground around here that the Rebs could use for defenses. Lead brigade out near Oler is in position, or at least holding there behind the creek. Should give them some time to rest. Cavalry has spotted the enemy. Doesn't look like any trenches, but they are formed up along this creek line near the mill. Kind of just looks like a double line straight across. They do have some skirmishers out front. Doesn't look like they're using this fence line. The rear regiment or rear brigade was resting for a while. So let's move these guys here. Move the cavalry up a little bit further. And the infantry too. Remember, we have about even odds with the enemy, but they are on the defensive, which could give them an advantage in some regards. But we've got better weapons, so hopefully that all evens out. We'll slow to ×5 in case the enemy starts shooting arty at us. It's late enough in the day, 1800 hours, so that's everybody, right? We didn't leave anyone behind. Rebs have 8,000. We've got 8,200. I do hear some arties, so we'll slow to ×2. Looks like they're shooting at the 1st Brigade. No casualties yet. All right, let's move the cavalry for a nighttime skirmishing raid here toward the fence line. First Brigade will more or less secure their flank, prevent the enemy from making any crazy drive against us. All right, so our cavalry is engaged with the enemy. Remember, they've got repeaters, so they're going to burn through ammo nice and quick. They still have a pretty big advantage firepower-wise even when they run out of ammo. So we got 2 regiments involved here, 3 casualties there, 2 there. We're actually taking more casualties than we're giving. Probably because we're mounted up on horses. We're big, fat targets. Behind that fence line here. Infantry is coming up. We probably have about an hour left of daylight, maybe. I don't love taking all that arty fire from those enemy positions here. All right, boys, dismount. Hopefully that gets rid of some of you being a big target. Deploy the brigade over here. We are taking almost double the casualties of the enemy. Again, I think it's due to being mounted. Advance our other brigade on the enemy flank. We've got 3 units in line now engaging with the enemy. Cavalry's taking pretty heavy losses. They already burned through like all their ammo? Jeez. Alright, we're gonna retreat the cavalry now before they lose too many men. I don't want that Spencer unit to not be recoverable, if you will. Yes, they'll be hurt by the retreat, but less so in the morning. Some time to rally. Enemy casualties are now greater than our own. Got firepower and perhaps quality of weapons is coming to our advantage. I think some of these rebel units have smooth bores because we're engaging and it doesn't look like they are. These guys are laying down, so again, I would assume some of these rebel units can't actually hit us from out here. The 14th Pennsylvania has broken. They lost about 60 of 300 men. 1st Vermont, 20 of about 160, 170. And the enemy's casualties are considerably greater than our own so far. Don't do that. Okay, so we're engaged with the enemy. Trying to knock out some of their artillery with some long-range gunnery. Or not gunnery, but rifle fire. But nightfall should be coming any minute now. South Carolina batteries lost almost 50% casualties. Arkansas battery hasn't lost anything. Alabama batteries lost a couple men, but not a considerable amount. Tolbert's Henrys are already almost out of ammo. I guess this game really does make the point that, like, yes, commanders are right to worry about ammo. That seems to be the political position of this game, that the fears of repeating weapons was real. If I was to describe, like, what does the game think? That would seem to be the case. Also, apparently one of my brigades not engaged. Kiefer's boys never ordered them to come up, so we're engaging the enemy at a considerable disadvantage from what we could be doing. At least they'll be fresh for tomorrow with a full complement of ammo. Enemy's lost about double our manpower so far. And we've inflicted about 120 prestige worth of casualties. 2 brigades on the firing line. Everybody blazing away here. Second South Carolina artillery is basically combat ineffective at this point. Okay. But yeah, advantage to us for the enemy not being able to really hit us effectively yet, because it seems like their troops are not equipped well from a rifle point of view. Their artillery is definitely doing work, but additional brigades coming up here. But I think we will end up fighting another day. See if we can advance those boys. Alright, so the enemy's up to 400 casualties, 5% of their force. We are sitting at 121 and 1.5% of our force. Alright, so the 39th New York is engaged within musketry range of the 22nd Miss, which is now shooting at it. Additional regiments coming up. It's almost 8 o'clock. Okay. All of my boys on the front line here are low on ammo. That's not great. Not great, Bob. Not great. Alright, so our other artillery is in the action back here from that last brigade of troops. We'll just start parceling out their regiments to advance. Maybe they'll get in range before nightfall. Where am I? Here I am. I'm kind of in between these troops here. How's morale right now? Theirs is at 56, ours is at 43. So the one thing to be sort of leery of is that with morale being higher on their end, it's possible our troops could lose considerably fewer men and yet still break. Okay. Still haven't routed any of their units. This is what happens when you got experienced enemy troops in front of you. And I can't really charge because all their troops outside the front line haven't really engaged yet. That would not be prudent. Well, I suppose I could charge this battery. The 29th New York here. There's no enemy troops behind them. There are troops kind of off to the left who they'd engage, but if the enemy turns to face them, now they're going to expose their flank and give us a major advantage here. Meanwhile, we drove the enemy infantry, or the enemy artillery back. It looks like we wiped them out, actually. And now we're engaging in point-blank range. So the 29th New York is engaged at point-blank with the 22nd Miss. 22nd Miss has now exposed its flank to fire from there. So we knocked out one enemy artillery battery. Second is kind of in the doldrums over here. Kilpatrick's boys. Colonel Kilpatrick. The routing of the enemy battery has tilted the battle a bit more in our favor. Morale has shifted to being pretty even. He's lost almost 1,000 men. Can't believe how it's almost 9 o'clock and so far the battle is still going. .600 men here. 22nd Miss is withdrawing. They're going to charge the 6th Georgia Cavalry. We'll have 2 regiments charge in here. Outnumber them almost 2 to 1. Main problem here is they're going to be fresh. Depending on their weapons, they might have a melee advantage. I'm not really sure. Cavalry is more likely to have melee weapons, I think. So we'll see if 2 regiments can overwhelm this flanking rebel cavalry regiment. Well, one of our regiments routed. Biddle's 460 men routed, but they drove the 6th Georgia back. And now they're in the rear of the 16th Alabama, which has to expose its rear, not just flank, but its rear to fire. So we've kind of broken the enemy flank here. Get in here and engage with them before they can retreat. Maybe get like a pursuit melee type deal. No. And actually the 39th New York, which was broken, didn't retreat very far. Okay, so some resupply. Let's take a look at what the resupply looks like. Where did they go? All right, 700 to 1,200 in terms of casualties. 24 rounds, low, low, low. 24 rounds. 24 rounds. Does no one ever get resupplied in this game? I really don't understand how resupply works. It feels broken. Like, you shouldn't be out of ammo overnight, especially if you're in contact with your own forces. I don't get it. But let's just move on. So instantly, the battle is rejoined. Like, all these guys are out of ammo at the start of the day. And it didn't say like, oh, these units are cut off. It said, oh, they got 50% supply or whatever. So why? Why did they get no ammo? In any event, keep pressing on the flank because it looks like we have an advantage there. So we're going to keep pushing on the right side of the screen. I guess technically our left, rebel right. Troops on our left are just going to engage at sort of long range. Continue to engage as best they can despite the lack of ammo. But at least pin the rebels in position while we try and break this flank. Where'd that other cavalry regiment go? Back here? Bring them forward. Their morale seems improved. 200 men in melee could be useful in cavalry mounts. Go charge that battery. And order these guys to charge, because once the charge is done, there will be point blank range of 2 or 3 enemy regiments, which hopefully they can then force to retreat because they're going to have to expose their flank. Alright, rebel regiment is gone. So we've got 4 or 5 regiments under the flank here. As we'll continue to try and keep rolling up the enemy position. Alright, those Henry rifle boys should be fiends in melee combat. And the enemy is routed. Kentucky has about 900 men though, so that makes me a little bit more uneasy of trying to melee with them. Although the other guys had 800 too. Now we're going to order our cavalry in to charge here. At least the mounted boys. Order our infantry over here to charge too. I think a general advance may be in order here. Some of it may not play out well, but I'm hopeful that the enemy has suffered enough that they're not willing to put in too much of a fight, but we shall see. Cavalry fighting on here, taking heavy losses, inflicting heavy losses. Spencer armed boys. Eighth New York is routed. Pursue him. Heavy casualties being inflicted all around. Two more regiments back here firing on our boys at close range. Cavalry sweeping in to try and finish the job. I think the Rebs are near break-in. This cavalry's gonna die, or at least withdraw. On the river line, which makes hitting them hard. Okay. Fourth Texas has lost a reasonable amount of men already. They did drive back the 1st Regiment, the 18th New York, which closed with them. I'm guessing fatigue is part of the issue here, because the 18th New York hadn't lost very many men. Who's wounded? More. Okay, 24% casualties on the enemy. We've got to inflict 30 to win a major. Another one of our regiments is routing. Cavalry charged the 28th Miss into the woods, inflicting heavy losses on them back there. All right, boys, push forward and engage these troops on the other end of the river. Another 4th Texas is wiped out. 392 men have been captured. Major victory now. 31% casualties with the loss of that entire regiment. Okay, trying to advance our boys into the remaining rebel lines. All right, we'll send some boys to occupy those cannons. Still only not even 6 o'clock in the morning yet. Earned casualties are ticking up a bit. Got to keep them lower. But at the moment, it's looking like a major victory. There you go. Enemies retreating. Charge, boys. Close with them. Man, some of these regiments on our end are pretty badly shot up. But we got a routing score there. Spencer Carbines, 1st Vermont. Maybe they can attack 28th Kentucky here. We got 900 men outnumbered, almost 9-1. But it says the enemy's routing, so maybe that'll play a factor. Our force is pretty disorganized and shot up, but the enemy is retreating, so. Casualties so far, 2,600 rebels, which is 32% of their force, versus 1,300 federals, which is about 16% of ours. So considerably more rebel losses than our own. That's good news. Come on, turn and charge. Okay. Trying to close to melee range with most of my troops in pursuit. These 3 regiments are all retreating. So we'll hit the 16th Alabama in the flank. They're also retreating. All right, there you go. Hit them. Plus 12.5. I doubt we'll pursue very well through the woods, but you never know. Sometimes you do. All right, speed things up ×5. I know that influences, morale and things like that negatively, but in theory, we've already won the war, the battle. So Sperryville should clear off that rebel division on the flank of sort of the 2 divisions which had marched further south, and give me a bit more prestige to wield my lieutenant generalship when it comes through. We gained +50 for objectives taken, +50 for rout, and 1,000 for casualties inflicted, so about 1,100 prestige. That means we got back a little less than half of what we spent to become a lieutenant general, although that promotion still hasn't come through, so maybe it'll come through after this victory. Either way, battle's over. So there you go. Your army's victorious. 2,600 of 8,000 rebels are casualties. 1,300 of 8,200 federals. Regain some morale and fame for our division before we leave it. Again, I'm just assuming the promotion is a foregone conclusion, but I don't know that that's a fact. We'll see. Colonel Kiefer has become famous and an inspiration for his men. We should probably look at promoting some of these guys too, right? But I don't want to do that and spend prestige until I know what's going to happen with my promotion. So we'll see. Glorious victory at Sperryville. James Riley and Jonathan Moore both wounded. 1,100 enemy prisoners of war. These divisions still south? They are. Whoa. Looks like a concentration of forces out near Fredericksburg. When am I going to get promoted? It's just blinking. Current rank Major General. Next rank Lieutenant General. Influence upon campaigns and staff. Further promotion requires a higher command. You need to secure a higher command before getting promoted. Oh, so I don't get promoted until I have a command that is commensurate with my promotion? Well, that's silly. So I've got to like choose a bigger command, but I probably can't afford a bigger command with the limited amount of prestige that I have. Okay, so what we're going to do here, guys, because I did figure out that what we can actually do is I can transfer my division to the Department of Virginia, which I don't think is technically a corps. I don't know if it's a division or an army, the way the game treats it. I don't actually know if it's a sufficient prestige level to get me up to Lieutenant General, but I don't have the prestige to promote myself into a Lieutenant General spot. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and transfer our division to the Department of Virginia, and then we will have enough prestige to take command of the Department of Virginia. So I will have a force of effectively 2 divisions. There's some ancillary regiments in there. I may reorganize it into 3 divisions, or I may keep it at 2 divisions that are both at about 10,000 men. And then we'll have a force of about 20,000 men directly under our command. Additionally, we can also request other divisions to do our bidding, so we could potentially get a little bit of extra forces if we want to drive on Richmond. But that's what I'm going to do, because it's really the only next level command I can take over at my current level. And I don't want to wait forever as a division commander. I feel like we've kind of seen, like, this is the most we can do. We can't effectively fight larger enemy formations unless we at least double our size, as we learned a couple of episodes ago. So I think that's what we'll do, and then we'll see how that plays out in our next episode. I do want to call out one thing. You know, it's kind of silly. It's like, oh, you requested promotion to Lieutenant General, but now you can't do anything until you buy a position. Apparently, in one of the patches they're working on, they are going to start having commands recommended to you. So like you can still buy the command you want if you have enough prestige, but perhaps based on your fame, your performance, your rank, the game may be like, hey, do you want command of this unit? And I assume if it does that, you won't pay prestige for it. That's a nice feature, because you realistically, you don't just pick the command you want in the army. You're told what you're going to command, and maybe you can use some influence to you know, pull some strings to get where you want. That definitely can happen, but generally speaking, you're told what to do. So I think that's a good addition. I don't know that we'll still be doing this game by the time that patch comes out, but something to be aware of. So again, next game, we will see, if not officially an army command, a de facto army command, a department command, with yours truly commanding the Department of Virginia. We'll consolidate those two divisions under one location, and then we will drive south toward the rebels and see if we can get past them. Maybe move toward Fredericksburg, maybe use some prestige to request a division to move with us, and maybe hit that area, because it seems like the Rebs are consolidating there. With that being said, the reorg and all that stuff will occur in our next video. We've been going for almost an hour now, so I hope you guys are enjoying the series. Please leave your thoughts down below. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching. And as always, until next time, I'm out. Bye-bye.